Oh, hey everybody. I'm back here with Victoria, and she was the star of our very popular Yamaha XT250 review video that did so well. Thank you so much. Victoria's got a new bike, and we want to talk about it today and give an honest review about it. So Victoria, what in the world do we have here?
We have a Chinese-made Zongshen RX3 Cyclone, 250cc motor. I purchased it in 2016 from CSC Motorcycles out in Azusa, California.
Okay, great. I've heard about this bike. There's been some stuff online about it. Geez, there's a lot to talk about. Maybe you can talk about the specs first and how it compares to other 250s?
Sure. Again, 250cc motor. It's water-cooled, fuel-injected, and weighs about 385 pounds. And it has a 4-gallon tank, which is about 200-mile range on the bike. And it's got a 2-year unlimited warranty out of CSC and Zongshen, which is great. It's made for light adventure. It's not a dual sport bike, but it's a light gravel road adventure bike. And at $4,000 out the door, it's quite a value.
Okay, so it seems like it's got specs really similar to a lot of other 250s, like the XT250 or the WR, but the price point is way lower. And maybe it's not as capable as some of these bikes, so it'll be interesting to hear more about it.
Yeah, there's a lot of new bikes coming out from the major Japanese manufacturers right now. I know Kawasaki's got the Versys 310.
Yep.
I know Suzuki's going to come out with a DL V-Strom model in the 250. So they'll compete directly with this bike. Right now, it's very unique in the market. It's kind of one of a kind out there. It's a 250cc adventure bike, and you don't see really any of them today out on the trail.
Awesome. Okay. Victoria, how did you become interested in the RX3?
Well, you know, I saw a picture of it online, and I jumped onto some forums to try to find more information about it. And there's a great forum out there called ChinaRiders.net, and a lot of experienced people who owned a 2015 model on that forum, as well as ADV Rider. There is a dedicated thread for the RX3.
Okay.
So I did a lot of reading, a lot of articles came out because there's a lot of curiosity in the market about this bike. So I started reading, and then I started getting engaged with folks who actually owned one to talk with their experience, you know, about this bike. And I was really surprised because many people were starting to get into that 5,000, 10,000 mile range on this bike and had relatively few issues.
Okay.
You know, I was skeptical. You know, Chinese products still aren't up to par with Japanese products, but you know, once I spoke with those folks, I was pretty confident that I would be happy with this bike, and I'm glad I listened to them.
So once you learned more about the bike, the skepticism seemed to go away and you felt more confident. Can you talk about the affiliates program? Because that seems like an important piece here.
Yeah, absolutely. The affiliate program is something that CSC has set up to spread the word about this motorcycle. So previous owners can register as affiliates with CSC and have people come and look at their motorcycles. Because CSC is located in California, and it's only that's its only spot. Mm-hmm. So it relies on the affiliates to really show this bike off so people can touch and feel it, operate it, see what it's like with the separate owners around the country. Okay. And actually, I've recently become an affiliate as well, so I'm happy to show my bike to anybody who's interested in looking at it.
Well, Victoria, I'm noticing there's a lot of stuff on this bike. What comes standard and how much does it cost?
Okay, this bike sold for $38.95 from CSC before crating and delivery.
Okay.
So pretty good value, and you'd be surprised how much you do get on it. All this luggage that you see comes standard with the bike. These engine crash guards come standard with this bike. Windscreen, standard with the bike. The bike comes in 4 colors. I chose the silver. I thought it was pretty nice looking. Yeah. It also comes in a lovely yellowy orange, a red, and a white with a little bit of blue accent. But I believe 2017 they're changing the colors up. I think they have a blue offering now in exchange for the red offering. So the 2015 had blue as well.
Okay.
I'm quite happy with the silver.
So it looks like this bike comes really pretty loaded for $4,000. What did you add on it from CSC?
Well, CSC's got a lot of great options and accessories for this bike. The first thing I added was the Seat Concept seat. This is the Seat Concept's narrow seat for the RX3. Because I have quite a reach to the ground, with a short inseam. Very comfortable seat. I traveled with it on a day tour to Vermont and back, about 375 miles, and I got off the seat, even with back problems, I was pretty comfortable at the end of the day. So, nice seat, I'd recommend it. And then come on down here, I'll show you the bash plate that CSC offers. This is the upgraded bash plate, and as you can tell, it really protects the engine. It's really made of thick aluminum. Nothing's getting through this one, and that was another great quality add, and it was really affordable for the quality of it, so I was really happy with that. From CSC also, I did add heated grips, and there are 5 position heated grip, and keep your hands nice and toasty. I live in New England, so really important on cold mornings to have those heated grips. So another thing I loved. Also on the dash, I added accessory charging ports. You've got a circular port here, and then you have a USB port right here. These aren't as strong as I'd like them to be. It takes a long time to charge anything, but you know what? I'm happy I ordered them just the same. They'll work in a pinch. Also, CSC offers a kickstand plate down here. You will see, actually, you can't see it if you come around. You can see the kickstand plate. The standard kickstand really dug into the ground. The plate really helps to ensure that your bike's not going over on a hot day in asphalt. So I was very happy for that. What else did I do to the bike? I put an LED headlight bulb in aftermarket from CSC. Not too happy with this, unfortunately. There's blind spots in it between 2 and 10, but I've done a few things to offset that with accessory lighting. I've also added some things outside of CSC, which I want to bring to your attention. These are Denali DM Micros. They're great lights. I think they're going to help me fix this headlight situation and help me see at night. So that's another important thing also to be seen when you're out on a motorcycle, and they help immensely. They look great. I haven't tested them at night yet, but I will soon. Outside of that, I put Barkbusters handguards on, and I have these on my other bikes as well. Not only do they offer protection, if you crash, they offer wind protection, so they keep your hands a little bit warmer, and that's another thing in New England we love to have here. So the bike is nicely outfitted now, and I think I've got everything on it that I need. There's one thing that we don't see here that is something I did order from CSC, is an upgraded shock. I ordered a progressive 450 shock upon delivery. That shock was placed in the bike. I had heard through the forums that the standard shock really was harsh on the back, and for me with a spinal injury already, I couldn't afford to have a worse injury, so I went with a progressive 450. I will tell you this, it is still very harsh, so I'm working on a solution for that, and CSC has been great in working with me in that regard, so more to come on the suspension as we tune it in.
Great. How do you get this bike? How does it come to your house? I mean, I got a million questions about that.
Yeah, a lot of people do. There's only one distributorship, as I've mentioned, CSC in Azusa, California. So the bike has to be shipped to the purchasers. And I ordered this bike in February 2016. The bike was still in process coming over from China. It landed here in May of 2016. The shipping process took about 5 to 7 days from California to get here. And it came on a liftgate truck. It was delivered to my driveway, and they put the crate on a liftgate and lowered it down to the driveway, and the delivery guy helped get it onto the driveway, and it was a wooden pallet it came on. It was very well ratcheted down, which I was impressed with. And then it also had a little bit of wood framing around the crate, as well as some cardboard to protect it during transit. So when it arrived here, the only things that I had to install on the bike were the top box, because that didn't fit in the crate, the windscreen, and the mirrors. Okay. So took about an hour and a half to get everything undone and assembled, and they also put a little gas in the bike so you can immediately drive it a little bit. Wow. It's ready to go, which I was impressed with. It's basically uncrate and ride.
So it looked like a bike when you got it, yeah.
Yeah.
Great. That's awesome. So Victoria, what was the registration process like for this bike?
Well, that was a little bit tricky. I will tell you that. The bike comes with a certificate of origin, and you have to take it to your DMV to get a title within your state. And when I went to register the bike was not on the approved lists of manufacturers for the state of Connecticut. Apparently you have to have a dealer network in order to get on that list, and there is a fee of over $2,000 to be part of that. And I realized Zongshen probably doesn't have a lot of bikes around here, and CSC didn't really want to pay that kind of fee. So it was a bit of a drag when I had to put this thing on a trailer and get it up to the Wethersfield DMV, which is in the center of our state, about an hour-and-a-half ride to have it fully inspected before I can get my registration and apply for my title. I did that in late July. I rode the bike home from there with my new plate, which was a really happy thing. And my title came within a week after that. So once you get to the inspection process, it's not that bad. Just a drag if you don't have a trailer to try to get your bike up there.
So people may want to talk to their Department of Motor Vehicles to see whether Zongshen is a registered manufacturer, because when you went to take your title in, they didn't have a record of this manufacturer, so that really created a little bit of hurdle for you.
Absolutely, and I think in places like California, because the distributorship is in California, they probably don't have that problem there.
Right.
But many states that haven't seen many of these bikes are going to have that same problem, I would suspect. So it's good to check and understand and make arrangements if you don't have an easy way to trailer a bike. That was a problem for me because it took 2.5 months from the time I received the bike to the time it was registered to get it on the road.
Wow, okay. So there are some hurdles that you might run into if you're from a smaller state, but it's not insurmountable. You'll definitely be able to get your bike registered.
Absolutely.
Okay. So what's the break-in process like for a bike like this?
Well, part of it's kind of standard, but the intervals are a little bit smaller than you'd have on your normal Japanese or Euro bikes. So at 500 miles, you want to do your brake and oil change. Check for any filings on the magnetic drain plug. As the engine wears in, you're going to get some metal kind of scraping off as the rings and everything wear in. So you want to check that. Also check your oil filter. So at 500 miles, I did my initial brake-in oil change, and then my second service was at 1,470 miles. Just had that done last week, and there was a significant amount of metal shavings on the plug. It was stacked probably 1/8 of an inch, and we wiped it off and just examined it. But I was told up to 5,000 miles I would be seeing that as the engine breaks in, and not to be worried about it.
Okay.
So I will be conducting a valve check at about 2,000 miles. I didn't do it at this service, but about 2,000, I'll have them check the valves to see if they're in spec, and do it every 2,500 miles after that.
Okay. So Victoria, in your research, how many miles are people putting on these bikes already? Does it have any reliability issues?
From what I've seen, people have up and over 20,000 miles so far. I know that the CSC reps have taken their bikes on some pretty long journeys, and it looks as though they're getting up into that decent mileage range with relatively little or no problems. So
Great.
Pretty inspired by that.
Great. Okay, great. Victoria, what were your initial impressions of this bike? What did you notice about it or like about it right off the bat?
Well, right off the bat, it's a great looking bike. You wouldn't believe all the people that come up to it and ask, what is it?
Right.
You know, I was really impressed with it myself. It looks like a baby BMW GS, doesn't it?
It does.
You know, and I'm sure, you know, the Chinese made sure they had something to do about that. But also, it's comfortable. You've got a standard riding position. And again, for me and many others, you know, anything but a standard riding position is going to be painful on parts of our body. For me, my sweet spot is a standard position with a decent reach to the bars, and really a comfortable ride. So also, you know, it's not the quickest bike getting up to speed, but when you get there, it's extremely stable at speed, and very nimble, very flickable, holds a beautiful line. I really was impressed. And this bike is extremely placid. It does not vibrate a lot. I've been up, you know, 65 miles an hour. There's barely any vibration noticeable out of this engine. Now my F650 shakes me like crazy after 65 miles an hour, but this bike It's very quiet. Quiet through the handlebars, quiet through the seat, quiet through the pegs. Very little vibration coming through in the mirrors.
I'm going to echo that about the vibration, because you gave me a ride in this yesterday, and it didn't feel like what I thought a cheaply made Chinese bike would feel like. It felt well engineered and very stable and rock steady.
Absolutely. You can get comfortably up to 80 with this bike on the highway, and I know we're going to do some video shots after this where we'll demonstrate that. Won't go much beyond 80, but at 80 it feels very comfortable and stable. So that was really a pleasant surprise for me once I got the machine.
Great. Now, how about things that are not so pleasant, or have you had any issues or any things that you'd like to change?
Yeah, actually, there are a few, and again, it is a value motorcycle, so I expected there to be a few. For me in particular, the suspension issue is something that really needs to be handled. I did go with an upgraded shock. That was a $500 investment upon purchase to buy a progressive shock, and that initial shock was still too harsh on my back. CSC has been great about working with me on the shock, and I do have another spring that will be added to the bike. Hopefully that's going to help somewhat. Outside of that, there is a little niggling glitch with the transmission. Whether it's the clutch plates, I'm not sure, but what ends up happening is every once in a while I find a false neutral between 5th and 6th gear.
Okay.
And that can catch you off guard if you're, you've got the bike leaned over and you are at speed. That seems to be lessening as the break-in goes, so I'm pretty happy that it's going away slowly but surely. I hope at some point I won't even notice it anymore.
Okay.
But you have to be very determined when you shift from 5th to 6th to make sure you get it into 6th gear, otherwise you will find that neutral spot.
Okay.
But outside of those two issues, there's really been nothing else other than every once in a while I'll lose a screw somewhere. I know I lost a screw on one of these plates. They're really sheetrock screws, which is kind of weird. I think it's on this side of the bike maybe, but Loctite everything. So when you get the bike, it's important to check all your screws and bolts, make sure everything's tight. You might want to use some Loctite to make sure it stays tight. That's to be expected with the fit and finish of a bike that's $4,000. $4,000. So again, not a surprise or a shock, but your important engine parts, you really want to check those just in case they don't come loose. I have heard through the forums that there were a few cases where something dramatic happened due to that. So that's the only other thing I can think of. Outside of that, again, I only have 1,500 miles on the bike right now. Okay. So we're still fairly new in the process.
But
so
it sounds like it exceeded your expectations of what you thought a $4,000 bike.
Absolutely.
So, Victoria, as I walk around the bike, can you talk about the CSC experience and what it's been like to deal with customer service?
Absolutely. I think one of the major factors of the early success of this bike has been because CSC has been a rock-solid distributor. They have gone above and beyond to make sure that their customers are satisfied with this machine and address any issues immediately, send parts. I've been getting parts within 2 days. They've been sending them FedEx. Just really been impressed with the customer service aspect. Steve, the owner, really stands behind the Zongshen product. And Jerry, who's in the service department, any questions you have, if he can help you, he will. He'll walk you through any process or procedure you have on the bike or questions about servicing. They've been really responsive, so been really happy with that. And it's important, if you don't have a dealer network, they really stand up and allow you to do it yourself if you want to on a bike, but there are independent dealers who will work on this bike, and CSC will honor the warranty work through those independent dealers as long as they're reputable. Okay,
and then the warranty is 2 years.
Yep, unlimited.
Right.
So that's pretty impressive. They really stand behind their machines.
Yep.
And again, the CSC experience has been really what's kept me locked into this bike, because I think myself and many other owners, really would have questioned buying this bike if it wasn't for CSC being such a reputable distributor.
Great. So, Victoria, what about the do-it-yourselfers out there if you want to work on this bike yourself?
CSC did a great thing in putting together a DVD that explains all the major servicing processes on this bike and how to do them with pictures, diagrams, really helpful. So with that, you can really do it yourself. I'm not a wrench though, so I take it to a dealership.
Yeah. So Victoria, it sounds like you feel really happy with your decision. You feel supported by CSC, and there really hasn't been any disappointments with this bike.
You know, I think for $4,000, this bike is an excellent value, along with CSC's support. It would be a great bike for a first-time motorcyclist as a new bike, or somebody just looking to do some, some street work or light adventure touring. And it's a really good value. China's really come a long way. Their quality is quickly approaching that of Japanese manufacturers. And I think people should reconsider. I've heard a lot of, China bikes are junk. I'll tell you, I've been riding bikes for 40 years. This bike is not junk. It's actually pretty fun to ride. So I encourage anybody who is interested in this bike, ask the affiliates. I'm one myself. Look on the forums, really get to know this motorcycle, because I think it's a heck of a deal, and I think you'll be quite happy with your purchase.
Great. Now we're going to take it on a ride in a little bit over a variety of different surfaces, but can we start it up now so people can get a sense of what it's like?
Absolutely.
All right.
Okay, it's in neutral. Startup procedure, here we go.
Victoria, thank you so much for sharing your experience with the RX3. We're going to take it for a ride shortly. There's going to be a link to that video up above. And again, thank you so much.
Thank you.